Instruction skill 18 is one of the most important real life skills you can have. It's about calculating simple interest. Keith puts $700 in a savings account that pays 5% simple interest each year. Which expression gives the total Keith will have in 18 months? So before we even get there, let's look at some stuff over here on the margin. The first thing is a description of what interest is. Interest is an amount of money that is paid for using someone else's money. A bank pays you interest for money placed in a savings account. You pay a bank interest for money that you borrow. And remember, if you want to reduce fractions, you have to divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same number. For example, 18 over 12, we can divide by 6 to get 3 over 2. And 5 over 100, we can divide by 5 to get 1 over 20. All right, so let me give you the interest formula and let's talk about what it means. Interest. Principal. Rate. And time. Okay. Interest is the amount that you either pay or earn. Principal is the amount that you borrow or save. The interest rate is a percent written as a decimal. And time is always expressed in years. So let's take this problem that we've got here and match up these parts. Keith puts $700 in a savings account. That's the principal. That's the amount he's saving. That pays 5%. That's the percent, but it's got to be written as a decimal. Simple interest per year. Which expression gives the total Keith will have in 18 months? Well, 18 months, there are 12 months in a year, so I'm going to write that as 18 twelfths, and then simplify it by 6. 6 into 18 is 3, 6 into 12 is 2. And we are going to find the amount of interest. So here's the formula. I equals PRT. This is called the interest formula. P, R, and T are being multiplied. So interest will be the principal times the rate times the time. Principal is 700. Rate is 0.05. And time is 3 halves. Okay. So they're saying the answer is number 2. And they are right. Because if you take 5/100ths and you simplify it, 5 into 5 is 1, and 5 into 100 is 20. That's where they're getting the 1/20th. So answer 2 is the right answer. And let's read their explanation. Write a sentence that describes the solution. Keith's total is the original $700 plus interest earned in 18 months. So let's back up here. We need to understand the question. Which expression gives the total Keith will have in 18 months? So we're going to calculate the amount he saved plus the amount he earned, that interest. So we need to put in the $700 that he put in the bank plus the principal times the rate times the time. That is where they're getting this answer. So step 1 is to write an expression for the amount of interest earned. Identify each amount in the interest formula. The rate can be written as a fraction or as a decimal. Because the rate is a yearly rate, you write 18 months as a number of years. Because fractions appear in all answer choices, write the rate and the time as fractions and reduce each fraction to lowest terms. The principal is $700, the amount Keith puts in savings. The rate is 5%, or 5 over 100, which reduces to 1 over 20. The time is 18 months, or 18/12 of a year, which reduces to 3 over 2 years. Substitute the values into the interest formula, then use the expression for the interest to find the total. And this will get a lot easier as we practice. Concept. Amanda read that home mortgage rates are now about 6%. In what other ways can 6% be written? Well, we know that 6% means 6 over 100. We could simplify that by 2 down to 3 over 50. I also can drop my percent sign and move my decimal back 2 places to get a decimal form. So A is one that would be acceptable. We have that one. B is not. 6% is not the same as 6/10. 0.6 is not, but 0.06 would be one of the choices. So this one and this one are both options. And so I would choose option 4 for all of those. They did not use the 3 over 50, but they could have. Takako deposits $400 in a savings account. Which expression gives the total interest Takako will earn after 2 years, 6 months if she earns 4% simple interest? So we only want to know the interest, not the total in savings. Have to be really careful with that. So let's identify the parts. And I always taught my students to draw a box for this so that they didn't get this all mixed up in the problem. We want I, P, R, and T. We are trying to find interest, so we do not know this yet. Principal is $400. 4% is the rate. And since we're using fractions here, I'm going to go ahead and set up my fraction. 4 over 100 reduces to 1 over 25. And time is 2.5 years. We're using fractions for that, so I'll go ahead and set it up in months. 2 years, that would be 24 months, plus 6 more months, that would be 30 months. And if you simplify that by 6, you will get 5 over 2, or 2.5. So now we're ready to set up our formula. We have interest equals principal times rate times time. So we have 400 times 1 over 25 times 5 over 2. So I can eliminate 4 and 5 because they have 3 over 2. We don't want that. We want 5 over 2 and 1 over 25, so I like number 2 as the correct expression. Don't have to solve it, just have to set it up. Procedure. How much interest is earned in 3 years in a savings account that pays 5% simple interest? Again, I would encourage you to set up your variable box with I, P, R, and T. We are looking for interest. How much interest? 3 years is time. You always want time in years. Savings account that pays 5% simple interest. So that would be 0.05. But what's missing? We don't know the principal. We don't know how much money was put into the savings account. And we would need to know that. If you have 2 question marks in this box, that's not enough information. You can only have one variable, one question mark to be found. All right, number 4. Suppose you take out a loan of $2,000 at 12% interest. If you make no payments for 18 months, how much interest will you owe? How much interest will you owe? So let's draw a variable box. Put the variables in there. How much interest? So that's what we're looking for. Principal would be $2,000. Rate is 12%, so that's 0.12. And 18 months would be 18 over 12. That would also reduce down to 3 over 2. I'm going to take it on further and get 1.5, which is 1.5. Because I want to use decimals since I can use the calculator. Formula, I equals PRT. I equals 2,000 times 0.12 times 1.5, or 3 over 2, or 18 over 12. It doesn't matter. You can use any of those because they're all equal. I just prefer decimals. So when I type this into my calculator, I get $360 interest that I would owe on that loan. plus the principal, the amount that you borrowed to start with. All right, application. Problems 5 and 6 refer to the chart below. The Central States Bank has two types of programs. They have a savings account. You can choose regular or savings plus. They also have car loans. You can get a rate on a new car or a used car. And all rates are computed as simple interest, which means that they will use this formula. A customer of Central States Bank places $3,500 in a savings plus account for 9 months. What total amount, this is important, what total amount is in the account at the end of this time? So let's set up our variable box and put our variables in there. And very carefully, let's start to match up our numbers. The 3,500 is P for principal. It's the amount deposited. 9 months, that's 9/12 of a year. And that reduces, to 3/4. And since I have a calculator, I'm going to do it as a decimal. It's 0.75. So I need the rate, and that's given to me up here in this table. 4.5%, that's 0.045. And now I'm ready to do interest equals principal times rate times time. So 3,500, 0.045, 0.75, and I'm thankful for my calculator on this one. 3,500 times 0.045 times 0.75 is 118.125. I'm going to do that one more time just to be sure. Times 0.045 times 0.75. When there are these ugly numbers like this, I like to do them more than once. And so I have a little bit of rounding to do. It's going to be 118.13, and that's the interest. But that was not the question. The question is what total amount will be in that account at the end of those 9 months. And so I need to add those two numbers together. 3618.13. So you will earn $118 by leaving that money in there for 9 months and leaving it alone. Total amount, that's the interest plus the principal, because you get to keep your $3,500 plus the interest paid on it. Suppose you borrow $7,000 from Central States Bank to buy a new car. You agree to pay the entire amount owed as one payment at the end of 15 months. About how much must you pay the bank at that time? So again, I'm going to set up my variable box. This just helps me organize my problem without getting things mixed in that shouldn't be there. Interest, principal, rate, and time. The principal is $7,000, $7,000. 15 months is the time period. That's not 15 years, it's 15 months. And that would be the same as 5/4. And then let's look up here to get the rate for a new car. That's 5%. I think I'm going to do this one in fraction form to show you how to do that, just in case you prefer that. So 5%, that's 5 over 100, which simplifies down to 1 over 20. And we're going to have to pay the entire amount back. So we're looking for a total amount, not just the interest. So interest equals principal times rate times time. Principal is 7,000. 1/20th is the rate, and the time is 5/4. You can type that into your calculator using the fraction key. I'm going to do it as 7,000 times 1 times 5. And that's 35 with 3 zeros. And then on the bottom, I have 20 times 4. That's 80. And then I would do 35,000 divided by 80 is 437.5. So that is my interest. And we need to calculate the entire amount to pay back. So we have to pay the 7,000, and we have to pay the interest that accrued on that 7,000. So we need to add those numbers together, and that will give us 7,437.50. That would be the amount due at the end of that time period. This is a very useful skill to know. Anytime you buy things on credit, you have to factor in interest, whether it be a car loan, a credit card, a mortgage, any of those things that you pay on a payment plan, you need to consider interest.